Alright. Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic Less Known Classic. This is episode number 27. This will be 2884 and Doubleshot number 2788. That's going to be 78. Correct? Yes. This one discussing some Wonder Woman and the final issues of Hawkman Volume 2. First, we're going to discuss, before I talk about the issues of Wonder Woman, I'm going to discuss issues 137 to 150. But first, we're going to discuss the last two annuals to discuss this volume, annuals 4 and 7. Yes, for some strange reason, these two annuals are not in trade. I don't know why they're not in trade. It's just that they're not. I would have thought this one would be. Now, I love the year ones, the concept for the Bat books. I love every single one of those. The Superman ones are fantastic. I enjoy the ones they did for Green Lantern. This one is not as good as the other one. It feels like a modern rehashing of a little bit of George Perez's early stuff. Also, Wonder Woman's, the bottom half of her outfit looks really, really thin. Like, to the point where you can almost see her groin. Now, I would see this one at a time. Not many times, basically, her outfit's drawn like this. Because usually it comes a little bit more than we see here. Like, for example, the only time I've ever seen anything like this was actually the artist who worked on Wonder Woman just prior to Gail Simone took in the book with Wonder Woman Volume 3. If anybody's read those first, 13 issues, her outfit got to the point where it was the bottom half of her outfit was really thin. Almost to the point you could easily snap off. You could see where she's basically just wearing nothing at the bottom. That's how thin it was. Oh, and the thing with the thing in the middle, that's actually from the main story itself. I'll get to that. So, by the way, this book is not written by Messner-Loebs. It's not done by George Perez. It's not done by John Byrne. It's done by Kate Wolsey, which I think this is the only book this writer's ever done. It is, despite being a year one, it's... it doesn't take place during Diana's first year, kind of. I would say at some point it takes place a little bit later. I'd say just more like some follow-up stuff from, the George Perez run. It feels like a follow-up to that with basically following characters around, because it's basically, I'd say the writing-wise, it's a love letter to George Perez. Also, this is how the artist draws Wonder Woman's attire in the book. Yeah. I would say the bottom half covers a tad bit more than the cover. Probably because, and then of course you have Cheetah in this book. Of course, the Barbara Bernard's character. Yeah, the villains, of course, he's in Africa, the whole story here. It's a really interesting story for what it is. I'm going to give it the annual itself roughly a 8 out of 10. It's probably by far the annuals that I've reviewed for year one. It's of the ones that have been released, the weakest one. And then moving on to the final one of these annuals, and number 8. No, not 8. And number 7. Excuse me, number 7. So that was part of a storyline that, to date, get this. Out of all the annuals part of the storyline, only one annual of this whole storyline is in trade. And that's the first annual for JLA. This is Ghost. Now, like other ones, visit Ghost of the Past. This mostly is done by... Well, this actually is done by the writer who actually ended up doing the Wonder Woman book, the regular writer. Which I love the artwork better than this one. I think the artwork in this book annual is better than the one from number 4. Yep. This is done by... If I can find the writer here. This annual itself was written by Eric Luke, artwork by Eric Bettel. There's a support character El Inico. Yeah, he was a... Yeah, basically what they do here for this annual, they bring a character from who's on the George Perez one for one-off appearance for him. Because here's the thing, after Perez left the book, he still was featured in the book sporadically, under Loebs, and then after Loebs left, Byrne featured him once, and then he's featured one more time in the main book, by Phil Jimenez, and that was it for him. This Andy was like the only appearance for him. It's mostly put just deal with a bunch of monsters. For some reason, this annual contracts and number 1 about Medea's backstory. Yeah, character from Perez's run. And that's really all discussed with the annuals. I'd say the artwork's definitely better for the annual. I'm going to give the annual itself roughly a 8.5. Now, for the main issues themselves. For our starting with, now, basically, it's also discussed with issue 1 million. Now, first of which we have the return of Wonder Woman. Where Wonder Woman's kind of living in a house. Yes, a house. By the way, these issues are written by Christopher Priest. And the art done by Mark Bright. Rest in peace, man. You're a damn good artist. Yeah. So, basically, Wonder Woman's got a mysterious family. And so, Hippolyta, Wonder Woman's mom, has to find her. And mind you, she is Wonder Woman. Then you're thinking, wait a minute. Why the heck is Hippolyta around Wonder Woman, even though that, because the new writer, new status quo, the book starts out basically looking like Diana's got a family, and it turns the family is all bogus. Because, of course, basically we have Hippolyta here dressed up as Wonder Woman. Like, you look at this artwork, you think, is that Wonder Woman? No, that's actually Hippolyta. And this kid, like Victor Pants. Actually, it's not Wonder Woman. It's Hippolyta, and of course they fight her. Yep, and they kind of in a way reignite the fact that, well, that she was Wonder Woman. It's a very strange story per se, and then the issue continues. Well, it has the appearance here book by Cersei, who's got a completely new design, who looks like a '90s punk for some reason. By the way, Priest himself is only here for a couple issues. This was a brief return. It's like he's here for as a fill-in writer for this book. Yes. So basically, we do have Wonder Woman's past, and we just have the two Wonder Women basically reunite with each other, and then after apparently like, oh, let's drink this soda to reunite the memories. Yep. Now, who is Victor, I might ask? Victor West. Yeah, this even gets put by Jay Garrick in this issue. Yeah, this is a brief 2-part storyline just to remember Hippolyta back in the title. And the middle issue in Milne, which is, I believe, like the last issue Priest does the book. Yes, which basically has Wonder Woman team work with the Amazons of Venus to take on this one person called Solaris. And then 139, we have a brand new writer, Eric Luke, with Yellick Perk on the artwork. The cover art is done by Adam Hughes. Yes. And these covers are gorgeous. Oh my gosh. Like, look at these covers. You can see why the fact this artist ran for a long period of time as he did. I mean, look at this gorgeous cover. It looks fantastic. Yep. So we have also Bob McLean, co-creator and muse, as the inker of this book. Yeah, and I look at this, I'm like, wow. Oh my gosh. It's like Wonder Woman's back to form here. Yeah, and also in this issue here, she reunites with Artemis. Yes, Artemis. She reunites with Artemis issues called Requiem. Yes, that was something that one of the writers did. This I call her Requiem, so she's not basically, well, I don't know anymore. Yeah, and is she a recurring character in the story in this run? Oh yes, she's back as a work of featured character in this book. For pretty much even after Eric Luke leaves the title. Yep, she's back in the book for pretty much the rest of the run. Yep. There's also stuff in this run here with these issues with, like, Wonder Woman having a FaceTime with Cassie. The main villain of this issues, well, the first issue is Titan. Yes, who's an original character who Eric Lowe created, and he's here for basically first appeared in 139 and returned in 145 and left with 150. Even appeared in the Secret Files Origins. It's just it's a good start for the run. It's just a standalone issue. Beginning at 140, we have the Trinity 98 storyline, which is a two-parter from 140 to 141, which is basically has Superman and Wonder Woman to have a team up. Of course, Martian Manhunter is here too, to take on Oblivion. Yes, another original character. I'm like, okay. And he is actually another villain who comes back for the Rainier. He's another villain who actually does come back even after this two-part storyline. But I love the whole concept of the whole, like, have a Trinity story in this book. Yeah, and also the fact that at one point Wonder Woman kisses Superman, and Superman's like, "Nah, I can't be in a relationship with you because I'm married." Like, okay, interesting. And then we have Beauty of the Soul. We have Artemis. Well, this was a Mike Shore. Yeah, he was a character who was a leftover character from John Byrne's book, and he basically even stayed, like, for a couple of issues even after. He's here for, like Byrne created this character to be a supporting character of Wonder Woman, and then he just appears like 3 times after Byrne leaves, and that's really it. Yeah. So basically, for the next couple issues, we have Wonder Woman's Devastation, which this is a big epic storyline. This is a 4-parter. Yeah, which leads into God War, which takes up basically 140 to 150. It's almost like the gods turn to stone, but it's an epic storyline. I love the fact basically that they do this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically, like, you start with, like, basically in a way, like, 4 straight standalone issues, and then you have 2 Starks in a row, which I found it quite cool. And it's a shame this book is not in trade because these issues are really good. I'm going to give these issues roughly a 9 out of 10. I found the book really good under this writer so far. Next up we have is Hawkman. Yeah, we're basically going to wrap up basically Volume 2. Or we have now. I'm basically discussing for not like 18 to 33. I'm actually going to 23 and 24 because that was part of the Way of the Warrior stuff. Mm-hmm. The first issue to discuss here is issue 18. Yes. Or basically, you have Hawkman going to Wisconsin for an issue. You have Steven Z. Seagal and Steve does this issue, but then it's mostly a single issue. And then you have Mayhem Midtown focusing on the Hawk Woman for an issue. We have Willie Messner-Loebs and the female vigilante, who is Adeline Kane in this issue. Yeah, Loebs returns to the title, and I think he remains the book into the book's finale. And then issue 20, you have Hawkman team with Black Condor. I found this pretty interesting. Yes. And then in issue number 21, he has a fight with the Shadow Thief and the Gentleman Ghost. For this particular book, this is the first appearance of the post-crisis version of the Gentleman Ghost. It's a brand new version of him, where he's kind of like a serial thief, and he has nothing to do with Jim Krag. It's a completely different character. He only appears one at a time as Underworld Unleashed. Yes. As for Shadow Thief, it's still Carl Sands. Same guy. And the issue 22... 22 is interesting because basically, well, actually, it was 22 and 23 of these skip over, not 24. So, let's go straight to 24. 24 is basically, you have Hawkman versus Lion Mane for 2 issues called Lion Hunt. Yep. Also, you have a woman named Naomi Carter, who's in the book too, who supposedly is Hawkman's mom. Yes. Yeah, it's only for just a couple issues. Love the cover for Kent Williams for issue number 125. Yep. And then we have another one issue for issue 26, where basically it's, get this, you can love this, it's Hawkman versus Dr. Jonathan Crane, aka the Scarecrow, for Underwood Unleashed. And it's a really epic story. It's kind of surprising Hawkman's never fought this guy before. And you know the weird thing is, this is the only issue of this whole entire book tied into that story. It's not 2 issues like this with Green Arrow. Oh no. And then we actually know the next issue is 2. Where basically Hawkman is with Nikron. 28 basically is him versus Dr. Polaris. Which is the original Dr. Polaris. Oh yes, it's the original one. Oh yeah, and there's even a cameo here by the former president, by, believe it or not, because of course it was a pop culture reference at the time. So let's include in basically Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and Chelsea Clinton. I would say of those three, well, Hillary is probably more hated of those three currently because of what happened in Benghazi. Yes. Moving on. Then we have basically Hawkman for the next 2 issues fighting Vandal Savage. Yes, for a 2-part story. Fighting Vandal Savage. And then we have a 3... By the way, Loebs leaves the title. Yeah, he leaves the title. Yeah, it was right after issue 27. He leaves the title again. You have Steve McCon does 28. 20 has Pat McGraw, who is pretty much the final writer of this book. And then the last 3 issues are known as Hunter, Hunted, Prey. Which is basically Hawkman just... We also have Christopher Priest writing the last few issues with Howard Porter in the artwork, which, good stuff here. Yep. It's him working with Justice International to deal with this group known as the 7-6. And that's pretty much the last 3 issues of the book. And sadly put, this final issue was the last appearance of the Cater Hall Hawkman. Yep. They also have with the Hawk God in here too, which is interesting. And this last we see of this Hawkman. Yeah, and also for this Hawkman, like, if you're curious though, does he ever return after this? Like, does he appear in any other book? No, a book just ends. Actually, he does return in Volume 4, but yeah. Hawkman at this point was written out of comics. The reason? Like, why did this book have the end for? Was low sales? Possibly, yes. But we do have one more thing to talk about for Hawkman. We're close out here. We have Hawkman number 2, which is basically a year 1 book. And this book is absolutely amazing. Oh my gosh. And by the way, it's better than the Wonder Woman one. And all the stories are written by, well, all 3 main stories are basically, it's Wings Over Egypt is basically Hawkman's original self, Khufu, taking a half set. Wings Over New York is basically the original Hawkman with Shira Sanders. Take out Anton Hester, who was the guy who fought Hawkman back in his defense back in the 40s. And then Wings of Chicago, which is the K.T.R. Hall Hawkman. And he take on Helene Astor, which is another reincarnation of the character. And we have pinups while they're Hawkman. The annual itself is a lot of fun. Oh my gosh, it is so fun reading this book. it you can clearly show Loebs had a lot of respect for this character, and it is by far like of the year one annuals I reviewed. I've talked about. I love this annual. It is so fun. Yes, the action ones are like all the ones with Superman are fantastic. I love every single one. As was interesting. The Catwoman one that was mostly do with year. That's mostly a follow up to some of the main story. I love the Batman ones. Doomsday surprisingly got one. The only one so far I was not a fan of is the Wonder Woman one. Sadly, yep. But that's it for Hawkman Volume 3. Yes, I really like the volume. It is by far, probably at this point, probably was the third, probably the longest volume. It's longer than Volume 1, which is 27 issues, longer even the previous book, which was 27. I think this book was even longer even than the previous Hawkman book was released at the time, Hawk World. That was 32 issues. This is 33. I'd say probably the ones by Loebs. I'd say those, along with the John Ostrander issues, are really, really good. It's weird Ostrander left after only 12 issues. I don't get why he left 4. He just did. I thought that was kind of odd. But you're thinking, okay, so with the last issue of this very book, which was issue 32, was it like the last Hawkman book released for years? Oh, yes. Yes, it was. That was released in 96. That was barely a year before before JLA. Now, according to something I heard about Grant Morrison, he wanted to feature Hawkman in the book, but because DC said no because of his confusing history. So they probably had a book at that point because it probably had its course, and I guess they probably thought I guess people are not interested in Hawkman anymore. So, and here's something interesting though. Next time Hawkman book will be published, which was Volume 4, which is not published until 6 years later. So yeah, for 6 years, we had no Hawkman. Until he returned in JSA. And I have reviewed, as of right now, of this book, the first 26 issues. So when I talk about this book, I will talk about the remaining 13 issues of this book. Yep. Which here's the also weird thing with this book. The first 26 are in trade. Final 13, nope. So when I get to Volume 3, Volume 4, I will talk about that particular book. But the next book discussed will be Manhunter Volume 2. That's only 12 issues, not 33, so dive in quickly and then move on to the fourth and final volume for Hawkman. And of course, I will work on Hawk Girl, Volume 1, and then work on Manhunter Volume 3, and then what coming next? I think in the side of finish these books, I think I said I was going to do, I was thinking the Spectre, but I think I've already decided the Spectre. I'll decide at that point what book is next. Yeah, so that's pretty much a particular view. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe to notifications, and join the like button. Next up we have is Narcomic Corner, is we can talk about some Superman. Very brief Superman stuff, but really good stuff nonetheless. Okay, next video. Bye.